What's up, Brew Crew? Welcome back to the channel. We are just a couple of weeks out from Gen Con 2025, and we are getting very excited. For those of you who may not know, Gen Con is the largest tabletop gaming convention in North America, and it's held in Indianapolis every summer. It's a pretty exciting convention to attend because of the size and spectacle of the whole thing. Plus, there are always a ton of new games that are released during the show. So, with that, it's time for my obligatory anticipated games of Gen Con list. Now, there are a few caveats that always apply to these types of lists. First off, I can't promise that these games will be at Gen Con. They are currently on the Gen Con preview list on Board Game Geek, and that is what I used to create this list. Some games don't make it on time for the show, and some may be listed as demo only, but maybe for sale, and vice versa. I've done my best to provide accurate information here, but things may change. And speaking of things changing, it's possible that other games are added after making this list. So these are my anticipated games as of the date that I made this list. Now, I did kind of cheat a little bit here. I normally do a list of 6. Well, I had to try to narrow it down from about 54 titles on my list of interested games on the preview, and that was pretty difficult. So what I've ended up doing is creating 2 top 6s. My top 6 games that I want to demo for games that are listed as demo only, and my top 6 games that I want to bring home for games that are listed as being for sale. That being said, I also have a few honorable mentions that I wanted to just briefly mention. These are a couple of games that I am excited for, but I have either already demoed them or they are new editions of games that I've already played, or someone in my game group already owns it and we're just waiting to get it played. They are in no particular order: Vantage from Stonemaier Games, Campy Creatures, Volume 1, 3rd Edition from Keymaster Games, Innovation Ultimate Edition from Asmati Games, and finally Soda Jerk from Allplay and Chris Yee. And one last thing before we get started: if you happen to see me at Gen Con, please stop me and say hi. I would love to get to know some of you folks that watch my videos, and I'd love to have you on the vlog to talk about your Gen Con experience, if that's something that you're comfortable with. And I also have some stickers and other surprises for you as well. Okay, finally, onto the list. I'm going to start off with my list of games that I want to try to demo while I'm at Gen Con. And since I've got quite a few games to get through on both of these lists, I'm going to be going through them fairly quickly. If you want to learn more about each game, I highly recommend going to check out the BGG Gen Con preview. First up, at number 6, I've got Beasts and Diplomacy. This game is listed as a 2026 release from Dragon Dawn Productions. Now, it says they will be in the Envoy area, so I don't know that they'll have an actual booth that you'll be able to visit. Still, this is a game with some pretty cool looking artwork. And in fact, the BGG page for the game says that the art was done by the designer. That's something that I always find very impressive. It lists the mechanisms as drafting, worker placement, and set collection as you try to collect the most rare and unique mythical creatures for your menagerie. I'm very interested to see just how this one plays out. So that's my number 6 game to demo at Gen Con, Beasts and Diplomacy. Number 5 for this list is Dante Inferno. This one is being demoed by Creative Game Studio at booth 562. This game is based on the famous poem, The Divine Comedy, which involves traveling through the different levels of hell. The game itself is a narrative chapter-based campaign game with some great-looking minis and very cool, dark aesthetic. One of the things that intrigues me most about this one is that it uses the action retrieval mechanism, which is something that I always get excited about. The game made over 1.5 million when it was crowdfunded, and although I didn't back it, I'm pretty excited to check it out in person and see if it's something that I should try to snag at some point. I don't pick up many campaign games anymore since I have several on my shelf that I still have to play. But the theme and the look and the mechanisms at least have me interested in demoing Dante Inferno. Number 4 is a new game coming from Elizabeth Hargrave. She's made some really fantastic games and is one of my favorite designers, not necessarily because her games are my favorite, but because of the amount of research and detail that she puts into her designs. And her game being demoed at this year's Gen Con is Sanibel. This is a game about wandering up and down the beach, collecting seashells and shark teeth. It's open drafting and uses the time track turn order mechanism from games like Tokaido or Glenmore. And once you've collected your shells and shark teeth, you're going to be placing them into a grid, and they're going to score based on their placement. It sounds like one of those deceptively challenging games as you try to consider how far ahead you want to jump to make sure that you get the shells you want. I'm a big fan of Wingspan, The Fox Experiment, and Undergrove from Elizabeth Hargrave, and I'm very excited to check this one out. This is coming from Avalon Hill and being demoed in Hall E501. So that's my number 4 anticipated game to demo at Gen Con, Sanibel. My number 3 game that I want to demo at Gen Con is another cheat, kinda. It's Arkham Travel Guide and Innsmouth Travel Guide. They look to be very similar games in the same series, so I'm just counting them as one entry. And I can do that because it's my made-up list. I normally don't get too excited about roll and write games, but the theme and the look of these two were just too cool for me to pass by. These games are being demoed by Crow D Games at booth 1449. In these games, you play as tour guides. You're trying to get tourists around all of the must-see destinations in each city while avoiding all of the nameless horrors. You'll also be confronted by one of the great old ones, which I am guessing will change up the game depending on which one is used in each game. It also looks like you can get cards, which will give you some special abilities to help you navigate the cities. The art in the game looks really cool and creepy, and it also looks like they have some really amazing looking custom dice. Between the theme and the way the game is described, I'm super excited for Arkham Travel Guide and Innsmouth Travel Guide. My number 2 most anticipated game to demo at Gen Con is one that very nearly slipped under my radar, and that's Crits and Tricks from Inside Up Games at booth 2142. This is a very interesting looking trick-taking game that involves using dice. Just how those dice are used, I don't know yet. But it also looks like the win condition for each trick is dependent on the suit of cards that were played in each hand. The whole game has a theme of an adventuring party trying to gain loot, and I believe that each suit of cards represents one of the classes in a typical D&D party, so barbarian, wizard, rogue, etc. Each suit has a power associated with it, but I'm not sure if it's a power that's taken when you play the card or if you win the trick. Either way, it sounds pretty cool. Inside Up Games also did Gorus Maximus, which I know was a little divisive, but I thought it was a really clever and really fun trick-taking game. So I'm excited to see another trick-taker from this publisher. That's Crits and Tricks, my number 2 game to demo at Gen Con. And my number 1 game that I want to demo is technically a re-implementation or a new edition or something, but I've never played the original, and that's 12 Rivers. All it took was one look at that board, and I knew I wanted to play this game. There are multiple tracks, and at certain points during the game, marbles will roll down the tracks. You are attempting to place your pieces at certain spots along these tracks, or rivers, in order to stop the marbles and claim them. And placing them upstream lets you claim them sooner, but costs more, while placing them downstream is cheaper, but may not leave you with as many choices. This is a really fascinating concept, and I'm really curious to see how it plays out during the game. It also looks beautiful with some really charming artwork and that multi-layered board. I don't really know much else about this one, but I also think that's partly why I'm so excited to try it out and see it in person. This one will be demoed by Good Games Publishing, who are in booth 1443. Okay, so that's all of my games that I am looking forward to demoing. Now let's move on to the games that I am hoping to bring home with me from Gen Con. Number 6 is the game on this portion of the list that I know the least about, which is why it's at number 6. If you've been watching this channel for a while, you know that I'm a fan of the horror genre. So my number 6 is Antiques Ghost Show. This looks to be a quick playing card game coming from Trick or Treat Studios at booth 1161. The idea is that you are buying old valuables and collectibles from some kind of estate sale or something, but every item in the sale is haunted. You're trying to get valuable pieces while trying to escape with the least haunted loot. That sounds like a pretty fun concept. We used to love watching Antiques Roadshow on PBS back in the day and trying to guess the values of all the different items. So take that and make it haunted, and I'm on board. I can't wait to give this one a try. That's Antiques Ghost Show, my number 6 must-have game from Gen Con. My number 5 must-get game is another quick-playing game, this time from Arcane Wonders at booth 629. Cat and the Tower is actually a re-implementation of a 2016 game called Babel, which is a game that I have never played before. This is a cooperative dexterity stacking game where players will be building up a tower with uneven wall pieces and using little cat meeples to try to better balance out the tower so that it doesn't collapse. I don't know too much outside of that, but I can say that we played the mess out of Rhino Hero back with our kids when they were younger, and this looks like it kind of takes that concept and raises the difficulty level. Plus, the little cat meeples are pretty cute. So that's my number 5 must-have game from Gen Con this year, Cat and the Tower. I am a fan of Thunderworks games, and I am very excited to see a couple of games coming out from them this year that are not in their role-player setting. My number 4 game to get at Gen Con is FlipToons. This is a deck builder with a really charming looking old school cartoony artwork. I'll admit it, I'm still a kid at heart, and I still like watching old Disney and Looney Tunes cartoons. And the theme of this game is essentially trying to create the best cartoon you can by recruiting different toons to star in it. What sounds unique about this deck builder is that on your turn, you're going to play your hand down into a 3x2 grid, and the cards will react based on where they are within that grid. Then you'll add up fame points to add more cards to your hand. If on your turn, somebody flips over 30 or more fame points, that triggers the end of the game, and the player with the most fame at the end of the final flip wins. It sounds really clever, and again, I really love the charming cartoon artwork, so that's why FlipToons is my number 4 must-get game. Jen and I like quite a few two-player games, and so my number 3 is Timber Town. This game is coming out from Alley Cat Games at booth 2052. This is a game that has players taking on the role of beaver architects constructing a town. There are a couple of things that look really interesting here. First off, it's what they're calling a river drafting game. From the photos and limited information that I've seen online, it looks like you'll be moving the tiles down the river, and when they get to the end, the river tile is cleared off and moved back to the beginning, placing new building tiles on it. This idea on its own is pretty interesting, but couple that with the fact that wherever the column is that you draft the tiles from, that is the column that those tiles need to be placed in your city. Sounds like a really fun challenge, and there are also different objectives that can come up in each game, so it feels like something that would have quite a bit of variability and replayability. And yeah, those little beaver meeples are pretty freaking cute too. So that's my number 3 must-have game, Timber Town. Okay, I'll be honest with you, my number 2 is almost solely based on the designer and publisher, and that's Lightning Train. This is another game from Paul Dennen and Direwolf, who will be at booth 2402. This team has put out some great games over the last few years. Clank, Dune Imperium, Wild Tiled West. So I really felt like this game needed to go on this list just based on the pedigree. It does sound like this is a bag building game with possibly some elements of pick up and deliver as well. Now, bag building is a mechanism that is in some of my favorite games and my most played games. So I'm very excited to see how it's implemented here. I'm sure there's more to the game, but unfortunately there's not a lot of information on BGG for this game at the moment. But I know enough to know that if I can, I'll be bringing it home with me. And that's my number 2, Lightning Train. And finally, my number 1 must-buy game at Gen Con for 2025 is a game that I remember talking about several months ago, and I can finally get my hands on it. As I said at the beginning of this portion of the video, I am a fan of the horror genre, and so my number 1 must-have game is Spooktacular. This is from Level 99 Games at booth 613. This game puts you in the shoes, boots, hooves of one of 20 movie monsters wreaking havoc on a movie theater. You are spooking and devouring the theater guests, trying to gain the most points. It sounds like each monster is meant to play quite differently from each other, which is cool, and I'm hoping will be very thematic as well. The game pieces look really cool, and each monster has its own custom meeple. Plus, the art is great, and it looks like each of the different monster cards is done in the style of an old movie poster, which I think is a great touch. It also doesn't look like they went with the typical movie tropes or just ripped off real-life movie monsters. There's no Freddy or Jason here from the looks of it. Although I'd have to admit, I'd love to see this done with some of my favorite movie monsters. That would be amazing. Honestly, this theme is just too good for me to pass up, and this is definitely the game that I am most looking forward to picking up and trying out while I'm at Gen Con. That's Spooktacular. All right, everyone, there you have it. A 2-for-6er. 2 lists, 1 exciting convention. Now, I want you to let me know in the comments what games you are most hyped about this year. Which games did I miss? Did something slip through the cracks that you think I should check out? Please let me know. Don't forget to like this video and hit the subscribe button so you don't miss any of my Gen Con vlogs. I will be posting them daily while we are in Indianapolis. So if you're not able to attend, you can live vicariously through my videos. And if you are going to be at Gen Con this year, don't forget to stop me if you see me. I've got some goodies to hand out, and you can even be in the vlogs if you want. I am very excited to see everyone in just a couple of weeks. And until next time, let's get another round for the table.